ago, we put our number in and name in for Coahoma Village, and quite honestly forgot about it. And then when we got this, our number got called, and we're like, okay, it's a sign from the universe. So let's pull the trigger, and so that Coahoma four bedroom will be ready in the end of January. So we'll stay there for a little bit, and then probably end up renting that out and build something else. So that's where I'm at.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So you're going to see these guys around quite
Yes.
a bit, hopefully. But I'm not going to go through the presentation or the PowerPoint. You know how I am. But no, it's a lot of good stuff. But I just want to pull out some of the highlights because I want to have a little bit of a different discussion for today's meeting. It's just I want it to be a little more open and informal, and certainly engage in some conversations if you guys are interested. I want to know if you guys have questions. But before we get into that part, I just want to go through some of the awards. And since I don't have your pretty little flyers, I do have chocolate, which comes from the new chocolate factory, which just is opening up and then, in fact, these are some of the first chocolates that they've been releasing. So instead of an award today, a certificate, you're going to get a chocolate.
That's fantastic.
If you didn't get an award, then you're going to have to work harder next month for chocolate.
Well, good thing I don't like chocolate.
Well, that's why I bought Hawaiian chili pepper water.
Oh,
So I guess maybe I'll say before we start too, that I think I have two separate awards today, and I think that I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the two most patient people in this office that are constantly being nagged by us with all our crazy questions, and that would be Tara and over there she is, Dawn is hiding in the corner. So you both get the award of Dean's famous chili pepper water. I know Tara will like that. You think Harris? Tara will like that. It's got to be local to understand it. Hawaiian chili pepper water is absolutely amazing, and I'll get more for you guys too, but that comes from my chili pepper tree in my yard.
On the cereal. On the cereal in the morning,
Exactly,
everything.
right? Exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. But we've got some people doing really well in the company this year. We're having a great year as a company, and as you know, I think we've taken over the #1 position in sales and on the island, which is a big accomplishment because Coldwell Bank has controlled that position for the last 17 years. So it's kind of a big accomplishment. And then Keller Williams, as a company of 180,000 people, as you'll probably know, is now the #1 ranked company in the world as far as size, and we're also #1 now in production and volume as well. And we're on a pace this year to exceed $1 billion in sales per day. And that's really a great way to leverage this company when you're talking to sellers and you're promoting yourself, is that you can stand behind a company that's closing $1 billion a day. It's not a bad statement. That really gets people's attention. So you can get into the minutiae of all the little details of what we're doing as a company and how well we're doing with all the great awards and everything that we get. But if you don't want to get into that, a real simple statement is that we're the #1 company in the world and closing $1 billion a day. And I think that resonates with people, is no question. But anyway, I got distracted. Back to the awards. So we got some teams that are doing really well. Kaanapali Luxury Living, top team for listings taken in volume. Team Kaikoa. Who's Team Kaikoa?
Randy, it's Randy, I think.
Okay, that's Randy's team. They had a good month in volume. And then Blue Marlin also came in top for listings taken units. That would be Derek and his team. Derek and Elizabeth. That's a great November for you guys. Individually, Jonathan Udis from the Kahului office had a great month. He closed 4.5 million in sales. Team Ohana, which is
Randy.
Randy, right? I think
Yeah.
that's Randy. Team Ohana closed 3.4 million, which is great. And then Group 808, the 808 team closed 5.8 million. I mean, these guys are killing it, right? So the 808 team, that's Todd Hudson. They 3 years ago were 20 million. They went to like 30 million last year, and they're closing 60 million this year. Huge jumps, right? And I know these guys well. They really, we all have as much potential as they do. They're really bought into the program. They're very dedicated to Keller Williams model. I'm not saying that we all need to do that, but it's absolute proof that this model does work if you commit to this. It cannot be denied. These guys are going to close, I think, 70 million this year from 30 million last year. It's insane.
Wow.
Almost all of that is being generated by online digital marketing, social, Google ads, search engine optimization. Majority of their leads are from Google ads, Facebook ads, and search engine optimization. And they're getting, an unbelievable amount of leads. They're really committed to it. They come in every day from 9 to 11 and just get on the phone. They call. There's 4 of them. 2 of them that really own most of that business. They're doing incredible. These guys are well into $1.5 million in commission earned already for their group. It's a pretty impressive thing. But if there was any question about this model and whether it works if you commit to it, there's your evidence right there. No doubt about it. Top individuals: Susan Deloria, listings taken, tied with Dean Martin. You get a chocolate tonight, sorry.
Hey, thank you.
Written volume, Gina. She's not here, is she?
No,
No.
she's in Tahoe.
Written units, as I mentioned, Jonathan, and then closed volume and GCI. Gross commission income is Bob Cartwright's.
All right, Bob.
And then listings, sold, units, and volume is Dave Parker. So we're killing it in our Maui division, the West Side, just for you guys, totally dominates. And we're killing it right now, so I'm hoping you guys can jump in and join in. Top groups, 808 team, they're killing it. Listings taken, volume and units, closed volume, closed units, listings sold, units and volume, and GCI. So they're killing it. New agents, you've already met them, most of you. And then there's a couple interesting events coming. I don't go to a lot of the events that come up, the classes and stuff. I try to do as much as I can, but there's the ones that I really do try to get to for sure are when you have these successful agents from the mainland coming in and giving presentations. And we've got 3 coming up right now. So one is on Friday. There would be
Tomorrow?
Danny Hara. That's tomorrow. Danny Hara. I don't know if you've met Danny Hara. He's from Oahu. He's incredible. They're killing it. They're one of the top teams in the States, and they're one of the top teams in Keller Williams. He's one of Gary Keller's top 100 people. He's constantly on the front lines of what's going on with the company and what they're thinking, because he's in those meetings. And he's a team guy, so he's done really well with a team of about 24 people, and they do exceptionally well, and they've really mastered the system as well, and kind of put their own twist on it. He's really a great guy, and he's completely open and willing to share every little bit of information that he's ever learned. And that's the beauty of these guys. They'll sit there and give you all of their secrets. That would be well worth your time. That's from 9 to 12 of tomorrow in Kahului. There's a guy that I'm not completely familiar with. His name is Jonathan Ziegler. I don't have the detail on him, but it's in here somewhere. He's also a super top performer. He does a lot of lead generation and a lot of how to scale your business up and how to grow. He's really talented guy. And then on Wednesday, Alex Brandau will be giving a presentation on luxury. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be here, but I've actually worked with Alex at some length, and he's taken a lot of the ideas that I'm working on over here and incorporated into his business in Tennessee, Nashville. So you might hear a lot of the same things that I preach when you listen to this guy, but he's actually a pretty talented speaker, and he's really great at open house and the sort of basic things that we do, but he has some really good tips on how to make them better too. He'd be a good one as well. That's on Wednesday from 1 to 3 at Central, so that's in Kahului. They're all Kahului. You got that?
When is Jonathan? Monday? The second speaker.
The second speaker is on Wednesday from 1 to 3 in Kahului. 1 to 3, yeah.
Thank you.
So that's kind of all I have on the awards side, and all I've sort of pulled out of the presentation to give to you guys today, because I wanted to move on to some of our own personal stuff. You've probably heard too that there's a group of investors in Keller Williams that have invested in First Hawaii Title, an escrow company. Not the escrow company, but the title division. And I'm one of those investors. So you'll see all my escrows will come with First Hawaii Title on them, and also add a little addendum that says I have an affiliated business arrangement with them. It's a disclosure that I need to make. So if you see that on there, that affiliated business arrangement, that's because the agent has an ownership interest in First Hawaii Title. It's not a huge interest, but it's a great business, and they've given us an opportunity to participate, to drive our business there and try to influence others to get their business there. And for them, it's a kind of an interesting way to build a title company. They've gone out to the top agents and given them opportunities to invest with Better Homes and Garden, Keller Williams, and there's another company too. so what that means is not a whole lot really, other than the fact that I might get some financial benefit out of it if you refer a transaction to it. That's the disclosure part. But what happens here is that we get treated like royalty with these people. The owner of the company, who lives in Alaska and Seattle, comes over every month, and he comes to my office and he talks to us. He finds out what we need, what we're doing. And I told him, I said, you know what, we really like the idea of like instantaneous. That's our world we live in, right? So they went back and they came back with this program that I think is pretty cool. And it's one of the uniquenesses of a company like this, which is very flexible, they're very motivated, and they're game changers for sure. They've already kind of gone in and disrupted the industry with this whole new model of driving all of the agents to use the escrow company. They've stolen a lot of business away from a lot of people that way. But they're also offering a great service, and they're willing to step up. I've got 2 escrows with them right now that are kind of unusual, and the other escrow companies wouldn't touch them. And when I called these guys and said, would you do, I didn't even finish the sentence, they said absolutely, with that. And so they accommodated us. They stepped out of the comfort level to accommodate a client who had a special interest, and they've been awesome. One of the things that they do, which I think is pretty cool, is they offer you listing packages, and they're not just for listings. I was in a showing on Lanai, and we were looking at this property, and the client was, man, I wonder, what about liens and all that kind of stuff? And I was like, yeah, we can get a title report eventually in escrow. And she was like, I kind of want to know before I make the offer. So I remembered that this guy told me about this program, and all you have to do is email listing packages at firsthawaii.com with the address and the TMK, and within 15 minutes, you'll have an email back that'll have all of the basic, like, it's not a title report, but it's all of those liens and encumbrances, comparable sales histories, loan amounts, basically all the stuff that you may want to know if you're physically on a property and you have questions. I had that thing back on my email before we finished the conversation. It was really cool. So I just flipped it on and go, oh, here we go. Here's the deal. Really cool. So if any of you have a listing, maybe you should test it. Maybe, do you know the TMK for Havani Street?
I have it on my computer.
Who has it?
I don't have it.
Can you look up one of our listings with the TMK? And email it to listingpackages@firsthawaii.com and see if it comes up. Just send any of your listings to that address. Let's just test it. But they're really going out of their way to create opportunities for us to be better at our business. So they remind me a lot of Keller Williams. They're very aggressive. They're very much into disrupting the market. They want to have the cutting edge technology, and they want to be better than everyone else. So, I'm biased, but there is some benefits to working with them, and they've really stepped out of the shell to make sure that Keller Williams gets special treatment. And you can call up the CEO and tell them what you want.
So they're only located in Kihei right now, right?
They're located in Kihei.
Are they going to have any plans of opening anything on this side or
They-
central? So
Yeah,
they're
they do. It's sort of based on how much business they get. So I think it's based on kind of like how we operate. If we have enough people, we'll open anything.
Yeah.
First Hawaii.
First Hawaii escrow, firsthawaii.com.
Firsthawaii.com.
They are hiring a marketing person, although they have someone in Honolulu. I get all the marketing done through them, and they'll do pretty much anything I want. They convert their statistics pages to have my stuff on them, so I can send those out instead of sending theirs out. But they're flexible, and they're really interested in our business, and if you have any interest, But the listing packages, I think is kind of a cool thing if you're ready. It's not just for listings, it's for if you're working with a buyer and want to get the scoop on the property, you can have it in 15 minutes. And they have it's a crazy thing. They have a call center or office in Bulgaria or something. But these guys are 24 hours, all they do is sit in there and jam these things out. It's a big company, right? It's actually Next Title on the mainland. Here it's First Hawaii Title. Next Title, NEX,
Dean,
which is a
can I
huge
ask,
company.
what escrow officer are you working with?
I work with Shannon Cortez.
Okay.
I've worked with her for a long time, and she's great. She's become a good friend. And escrow companies, what I found is they all do the job. They can all do it.
Yeah.
It's just what it's relational. I think relationship is a big part of it. You work with who you're comfortable with, and you work with who's doing what for me. I don't want to be obnoxious about it, but if they're stepping up to a level above everyone else, I'm interested. I'm not saying everyone's going to switch, and certainly I know the relationships are important, but keep that in mind. Coaching, many of you have asked me who my coach is, and because when I talk to people, I'm so fired up about everything like that. It's a little bit obnoxious. But I'm really on a mission, and I'm super motivated with a great goal and a great plan for next year, and for 5 years and for 10 years. I have my whole 10 years mapped out. And setting goals is great, but it's really not the goals. It's how you're going to get to those goals. It's the pathway. And I've worked for 2 years with a coach who I'm a big fan of also, and has really helped me to rock my world for sure. I've completely changed my life and everything I do in my life and my business. And she's not a life coach, she's a performance coach, but it's all the same. I mean, really, it's coaching the way you think and your thoughts and what to do with it all is very important. But for me, I am setting goals way beyond my comfort level and way beyond what I've ever done before. And the problem with that is I've never done it before. So how do you know how to do it? Well, you don't know, because what you do as human beings is you automatically revert to your history and your past and what you created these thoughts over years of experiences, but you really can't rely on those thoughts because it didn't get you to where you want to go. And so you really, I think, have to be coached to be able to set very ambitious goals and then lay out the pathway of exactly how you're going to get there. And it's important for me because I'm really excited about next year. I think 2020 is going to be a really strong year for our market. In fact, I wanted to talk about the market a little bit because I think one of the obstacles for me and for us is the fact that buyers are coming from the mainland talking about the markets going down, So, I mean, I was thinking about it. How many of you guys, by show of hands, think the market's going down, versus going up? How many think it's going down? Or was it going up? Is it going sideways, really? I think a lot of us think it's going sideways, and I think a lot of clients think it's going down because they're coming from the mainland where the markets are declining. And those markets should be declining. Like San Francisco, when you have 4 or 5 years of 20% appreciation a year, it's only going to go so far before it stops. And that's where they are. They're cooling off and they're going down. And I've said this before, so it may get boring, but we can't look at the economy or the market as a wave coming across the country like it used to be. It used to be very predictable. You could see the East Coast pick up and it would sort of come along the West Coast and then it would be us. It does not work that way anymore. So we all stand alone as individual markets now, and they have to be assessed as individual markets and individual niches assessed on their own statistics, basically. And I've had a really great example that I'm going to share with you, which is I listed a property in the Palms in Wailea. And it's listed for $1,495,000, unfurnished, and has $100,000 in furnishing. It's a really great unit. The highest sale in the complex has been $1,300,000. So I just got hammered from the moment I took that listing by every agent and every client. What am I thinking? What am I doing? So I really was forced to come up with a pitch that would enable me to get a buyer to pay more than the highest sale. And I started looking at statistics because I'm kind of in that for statistics, and they don't lie. It's the bottom line. But it's interesting. I just look at this little basic thing that Fidelity puts out, and just because it's so basic, it's residential, it's condo, and it's land. But if you look at the last 3 months, you'll see that they're very similar. And what I'm trying to say is there's definitely a positive trend building here that I think is important. If you look at residential, number of sales in October versus November, so I'm tracking them every month versus the prior year. So this October versus last October. But they're all very consistent, okay? So residential home sales are down 2%. In October down 2%, in November down 2%. The condominium sales are down 4%, 5% in October, 4% in November. The land sales are down 11% in October, 8% in November, very consistent. And then you go to the prices. Median price for residential, up 4%, up 6%. Condominiums up 3%, up 3%. Land up 5%, land up 5%. I mean, that's like the most consistent thing you could ever see. Days on market, consistently all down. So you got number of sales down, prices up, and days on market down, which is absolutely the perfect scenario we want. 97 days to sell a home, 96 days. 88, 88, 122, 122. I don't think there's ever been more consistent statistics than that. And the month prior was almost identical as well. And So I think the argument that the market's going down is not a bad argument because the volume is down because inventory is down. And when I went to these listings presentation and to the showings, I would go there and I would show them this information. I would say, look, you know what? Condominium sales in Wailea are down 30%. And they're like, I told you the market's going down. I'm like, but the prices are up 10%. You know, I think that's a really ideal situation. Shrinking of inventory puts the squeeze on the prices to go up. We've been working for 10 years to get all this stuff out of our inventory and out of our market so that we can move forward. And potentially we might be there where we're actually seeing some signs of appreciation. So the market's shrinking dramatically with the reduction in inventory, but prices are going up. And so that was one of my arguments to these guys is like, well, prices are going up. They're like, the market's going down, volume's going down, but prices are going up. People don't decide to sell. Let's say you're a seller, they don't go, oh, volume's down, I should sell. You know, they go, prices are up, I want to sell. That's what they're really focused on. That I think is the market, and the key factor to the market is inventory. And that's all changing right now, which is awesome. It just teases up for a perfect next year. And then I looked at the sales at the Palms, and I looked for when was the previous high, which we all knew was 2005, 2006. And the sales in that era were between 1.3 and 1.6. They capped out at 1.3 over the last 8 years or so. If you go back to 2005, 2006, there were sales from 1.3 million to 1.6 million. So I went back to them and I said, well, first of all, it appears that the market, based on this information, is transitioning from the seller's market, from a buyer's market, which has been for 10 years, to a seller's market, because all of a sudden there's no inventory. Prices are going up. So there's never been a market in the history of markets that I'm aware of that went straight from a buyer's market to a declining market. That's never existed. There's always been buyer's market, seller's market, decline. So you can't just eliminate one whole segment from the market and say, oh my God, the prices are going down because they're going down in San Francisco. No, I think we're flipping to a seller's market, and we're going to go through price appreciation for the next 2 or 3 years. And because no market has ever not surpassed the previous highs. If you look at the market, I remember when I first started in real estate in 1990, and the Japanese boomed and then crashed, and people were like, you better enjoy that because you'll never see those prices again. And we probably tripled those prices, or doubled those prices at least, So you never can see it, but it always happens. And we never not surpass our previous peak. So I went back to them and I said, yeah, I understand that the highest sale now is 1.3 million, but we feel like there's upside potential. We feel like there's a conversion in the market to a seller's market. Prices are going up. And we've never seen a market that hasn't surpassed the previous peak. So we think there's still upside on this price up to about 1.6 million plus. You know what I'm saying? And
so you already pitched them with equity.
I pitched them with equity, and I pitched them with looking at the fundamentals of the market, and I think that's a good example of how to make deals. So if you're like representing a buyer, someone says, is this a deal, or go find me a deal, I would be going to look for those communities or those buildings or those complexes that haven't hit their previous highs from 2005. And if they haven't, and many have, if you go to Honoakai, gone, Montage, way past. But there are a lot of properties that haven't hit their previous highs in 2005. And you can go to someone, you can justify and say, hey, we've never not surpassed the previous market. These other complexes already passed. Here's the opportunity in these complexes. And I think it's a good way to isolate and target opportunities for buyer with a justifiable reasoning for it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Or am I just making this up?
But you guided them to that price, though.
But so they ended up, long story short, I had 4 offers on the property. They're all at 1.3 million. Every one of them, right? One guy came up to 1,530,000. Bam, bang, we took it with that. I'm like, okay, we're good. But it took him, he was not going to do it until he had a good reason to do it, or someone gave justification on why this makes any sense at all, And that was how we were able to leverage those prices up from market highs into the next level, because ultimately the market is not what the last unit sold for. Those are comps, but if the market was at what the last unit sold for, they would never change. It would always be the same price. So the market's the market. You've got to, at this time, I think if you're going to be successful in this market, which is transitioning, and we're heading into a really, really great 2020, I think, because price appreciation, inventory shrinking will bring new inventory on the market because the prices are higher. So even though looking like everything's shrinking away, there's a whole crop of buyers out there that are waiting for prices to go up a little bit to come on the market, so there'll be a new inventory coming. And I think it's important that we're at a stage of our market that is actually attractive for a buyer and a seller. So whoever you're talking to, there's serious positives with these trends, which is if you're a seller, prices are going up, that's easy. Inventory shrinking and prices going up, every seller wants to hear that. But if you're a buyer, most buyers want to know that they've passed the bottom before they buy. And so most savvy buyers aren't looking for the bottom, they're looking for some price appreciation so that they know when they're buying that there's actually a potential that it's going to go higher. The market's going sideways, savvy buyers don't like that because they don't know whether it's going to go down or up. You know, so an upward trend is a real positive. So the beginning of an upward trend is the ideal time for a buyer to buy. So we have great news for buyers and we have great news for sellers. So, and we're going to have a great 2020, I can tell you that, because this is really good news in my opinion. You know, and I don't want to hear that the market's going down, you know, because I think that's bogus. You cannot deny statistics. I mean, every month it's the same. You know, that's a trend, right? And it's a very positive trend. You know, people argue that the market's going down. Volume is down because of lack of inventory, but prices are up. And it's consistent in every category for the last 3 months. So we hope that's a new trend. But anyway, I wanted to just touch bases on that part, just to be able to, you know, I think that's one of our challenges. And I think, you know, with my coaching, it's really been a lot about identifying obstacles and overcoming obstacles is how you kind of continue to progress. And for me, that was a big obstacle. And I think I spent a lot of time to create a story to be able to, if anyone comes to me and says the market's good, they don't want to hear it. You don't want to come to me and say the market's declining. I mean, I had probably a 3-hour debate with a buyer over this. You know, he didn't want to hear it. He was just like, I don't care, I want this price. But he, at the end of the day, he wouldn't pay the price, but he appreciated what I was saying, and he was just a buyer who was ready to buy something and flip it in a year. You know, so he was really looking for a better value.
I had a question about your coach. Are you with MAPS Coaching?
I'm not with MAPS Coaching. I don't have a Keller Williams coach. I'm not. I think, you know, that, and I think there are great Keller Williams coaches out there. But for me, it's just having the right person, and you know, and I'm not really trying to build. I'm trying to change the fundamentals, and that's really not just building a team or the Keller Williams specific. This is just life and business, and it's really about accountability and performance. That's what she coaches me on, and she's willing to talk to any of you guys if you wanted to have like a 1-hour free consultation to see what she offers and what her program is about. I'd be happy to give you a name. I mean, to me, it's changed my world, and not just in the real estate world, but it just changes the way you think and how you think about things. You know, we have a choice in our thoughts. You know, so you have this automatic reaction to something, and I think you train yourself to think, well, that's not the only option, really. It's just a natural instinct based on history, that in emotion, and that ultimately there's always other options that you can choose. You know, you can choose to be depressed about something, or you can choose to not be and take a different path. I mean, it really is that simple, and I think it's been good for me because a lot of the stuff that I've been coached on is all stuff that I have in my head. Just no one sits down and really works through all this stuff. You know, it's great. Everyone sets goals, but you really create a month-to-month pathway of how you're going to get there and what the obstacles are and how you're going to overcome them. And, you know, there's a really interesting process. I mean, if it was 2 years ago, never in a million years would I have ever considered a coach. I thought that was the bizarrest thing I've ever heard. Now I'm like, it's rocked my world completely. My income has doubled this year, and I give her the majority of the credit for that, for motivating me, getting me on track, eliminating all the obstacles. You know, I was one of those people that took on too much, couldn't say no, president of the board of the school, blah, 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 you know. And I've eliminated all of those things from my life that aren't serving my ultimate goals and aren't keeping me on task and keeping me on track with what I need to do in the next 5 and 10 years. You know? So very ambitious goals. And I had a very ambitious goal for this year. And I didn't quite hit it, but I almost did, which was shocking. I didn't even, you know, I kind of put everything aside, and ultimately she said, you know, she set a goal for me, which was crazy. And then halfway through the year, we looked at the stuff, and I was actually like on track to hit that goal. I didn't even think about it, but mindset is such a crazy thing. I mean, the mindset is everything, actually, is what it is. And she got my mindset right to where I wasn't thinking about, oh my God, I gotta make this much money to pay my bills. I was going for this much money, and without even really focusing on that, but the pathway to get there, I'm pretty much at that goal, pretty much doubled my income over the last year. So I really am a big believer. And if you want to talk to her and have a 1 hour free consultation and just kind of feel that out, MAPS coaching is good. There's tons of good coaches out there, but it just depends on really what you're looking for. I like referrals, and I like to me, it's about the relationship. I want to know who I'm dealing with. You know? I know there are a lot of great MAPS coaches out there, and I don't want to, take anything away from that, but a lot of you all have asked me about my situation and why the hell I'm so fired up. That's why, and why I'm such big ambition right now. And I'm doing this, and I'm all in for next year. I've signed a massive contract for online marketing. I'm spending a ton of money to really take advantage of the market, take advantage of what next year is going to throw down for us. It's going to be a great year. Any questions? Any comments? Anything? But I've known her for many years. In fact, she lived in Maui like 15 years ago, and I knew her at that time. And she lives in Austin, Texas now. And again, for me, it's just you're kind of vulnerable. You're going in areas that are uncomfortable. That's really the benefit of it. And so for me, it's a lot of it is about who this person is and who I'm talking to. And I just got to be the right relationship. That's all for me. And everyone's different in how they like to do it, but that's me. Does anyone have anything that they want to talk about as far as new listings or new projects? I did want to say that Nicole is going to be taking over as the dedicated agent for Mahana Estates, and she's kicking me out. So I'm not going to be the day-to-day at Mahana Estates anymore, but Nicole is, and she's the go-to on that. The project is amazing. I mean, it's going to be something really special. It maybe hasn't been yet because they haven't really found the perfect product. But they're in search, they're working really hard. They're going to come out with a whole new line of product next year that'll be 4 to 5 million and not 7 to 8 million like it was before. And that really, I think, will hit the price point that it's going to sell because the property itself and the reviews and the lots are phenomenal. It's an amazing property. So get a hold of Nicole if you're looking for good deals on lots that are starting at 750,000, which really right now is what the developer is being forced to do is to get into the competition of what's selling, which is, like 1 acre lots in Lani-Kea for like 700,000-800,000, and coffee farms for like 700,000-800,000. Now you have Mahana Estates for 800,000, and I would hands down any day take that Mahana Estates property. It is phenomenal. What they've already done there as far as grading the property, building elevated paths with great views, and it is spectacular. It's going to be a winner for sure. We can look back one day and go, what were we thinking, as a no-brainer. But I encourage you to check it out because it is a good deal. Sorry, I'm talking for you. You're supposed to be saying this.
I know. I mean, let's let you go. You're fired up, so have fun.